Manas, is Professor Mustafa there?
Let me check. Yeah, he joined. Mustafa is joined.
Good morning, Professor Mustafa. How are you?
Good morning, madam. I'm fine. So, so it's 10:27. Yeah. So, we can, I don't know, it depends on Professor Panda. Sir, if you want to start with answering some questions, so I can read the questions. Also, I gave you the link of the questions the colleagues they wrote.
What the voice?
Okay, so firstly, Professor Mustafa, should we start? Because we have just 19 of the colleagues. So should we wait for 1 or 2 more minutes?
Yes,
We have still 3 minutes.
yeah. So
We have
3
still
minutes there. Yeah.
Let us wait for that 3 minutes, then we can start in time.
Voice is breaking.
It is 10:28 here, so maybe we can wait another 3 minutes.
Yes, yesterday there was a good number, 80 plus. So
I think today, yeah, they'll join today, but since the time is still we have 3 minutes to 10:28 now, maybe they'll come.
I don't know why the voice is breaking.
This is the microphone.
3 होना चाहिए बस 5 नहीं होना चाहिए. So let's reach the number 30 and we will start.
Hello.
Professor Mustafa, should we?
Yes, madam, we can start because the time is already 10:30.
Yeah, time, we should maintain the time.
Yes, madam.
Friends and Professor Panda, as you all know, the expert for all 3 days, and today is the second day. We will begin with what we left yesterday. And today, Professor Panda is going to give certain other important themes for discussion. So first and foremost, I must request that Professor Panda has sent a lot of material to all of us through email, through WhatsApp. So let us read and work on it, because as yesterday also we said, if we expect our learners to be self-learners, we ourselves have to prove that, and we have to be ourselves be self-learners and follow that philosophy. So I hope all of you have read that material. Early morning I saw through the emails of Professor Panda, he had sent so much of other set of materials. Almost 3 emails and 4 to 5 attachments in each email. So please go through it because it's a very important outcome-based learning. And today I'm sure he is going to explain, discuss, describe about how to write learning outcomes which are outcome-based. With these words, I welcome Professor Panda and I welcome each one of you to this second day of the workshop. Without spending much of more time, I request Professor Panda to have this session. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Parhar. Good morning and Assalamu alaikum. You see, yesterday, you look very fresh and Professor Mustafa, you look very fresh and smart. You see, Corona in Delhi is spreading faster than US. So, and Bangladesh is not behind, is competing hard, you see. So we have to be very, very, very careful. I'm pretty sure that you all are, because you are traveling from Dhaka to Gazipur, then back, and which is vulnerable. So also at IGNOU. Now all universities are now open. IGNOU is fully open. I mean, offices are open. So, and student examination is going on in September. It was completed actually. So we have to be very careful. So friends, a few things in order before I start my PowerPoint, because you know, I am simply repeating this PowerPoint presentations, my talking, our discussion will have absolutely no meaning if, capital if we do not go through some of the very selected and very much related materials that I have provided you based on my scrutiny internationally. What I did, and I will also respond to a few questions, and Professor Mustafa has also created a Google, I don't know what system, where the questions are being put. I'm also responding and trying to attach an email PDF file of the response also in case our colleagues are not able to access online. So you see, there were a few questions based on which I sent some materials. And some materials are meant for discussion and working on today and today evening. And today evening, I will send some materials for tomorrow. And then subsequently, based on these materials, I think this will be sufficient. Based on these materials, we can start interacting and then working individually. By now, I have received 7 worked out matrices from colleagues. A few sentences about the kind of materials that I sent, and a few sentences about the questions that have been raised. I sent, because there was a question of audio, video, and media integration, the best person that I can find out is Jay Kumi, that I was talking to yesterday. So instead of sending his book, I selected 3 of his publications where he's talking about the pedagogy of video and other media, multimedia. And he's also talking about outcome-based learning and educational media. So, and media integration. So I think if you read Jack Kumi, the 3 papers that I have sent, they're sufficient actually, more than sufficient to appreciate that what exactly is meant and how we should proceed in that direction in media integration. The second, I sent you basically 2 sample units, one from the example of managerial skills and leadership skills from a certificate program which was developed by the Commonwealth of Learning, of course, in which I was involved. And that I have sent as a sample, which you can look at and you can still improve. The other one I selected from the British Open University material, which is a general kind of material which all can appreciate. That is about learning and learners. So these two, the British Open University material has got plenty of activities built into that particular unit. I also mentioned yesterday WhatsApp or email, I think email, that our scrutiny in 2018, the materials that we saw at Bangladesh Open University, the colleagues, they developed in detail in this workshop, besides the 3-year plan, their framework, their media integration, their OER integration, their TVT, VET integration into the open schooling, commerce, science, arts, education, and VET itself, as well as the teacher education programs. So about 35, 40 colleagues, they have worked very hard, but I have not shared those materials. They're extremely comprehensive. I must say that we are at the beginning here at about 5%. If we add 95%, that kind of thing I'm talking about. But I have not shared those materials with you. But maybe Professor Panigrahi can share with Professor Mustafa to have a look at what kind of, so that he can impress upon colleagues that the kind of things that we need to do. But not to everybody, because they were developed for a different group of people, different disciplines. Some of them might be participating here also. So therefore, those I have not shared. So this is the second kind of materials. The third kind of materials, which I had already shared, which is a Commonwealth of Learning handbook on in-house style, which is basically an outcome-based learning handbook, which is a very simple terms. It is written with a lot of examples of what we are discussing from beginning to the end, up to assessment, it is there. So my submission is that if you can go through, whenever you find time, relate to what we are discussing, relate to what you need to do, it will be really, really good. And therefore we can achieve our target. Finally, I sent a few online URLs, websites, where you can access those relating to OER, because there was a question that what considerations we must have when we select and adopt open education resources. I think 2 or 3 sites that I have sent you, they're excellent, I must say, and some are built in. If you work on those sites, then you can also get into inside. They are not static, they are dynamic sites. So I think those will be very useful. If you find time to go through, sometimes it will be excellent. And finally, before I get into 7 matrices I have received, one question was raised, because in the question box, a few questions I would respond now before I proceed. So the question was that the Second Life platform, that can something more be discussed. You see, we're very less time. In any case, we are not using Second Life platform in either IGNOU or BOU or elsewhere. But I have promised, as I responded, I will send you a select case studies, how Second Life platform has been used by institutions to award the full degree, so that you could read it and appreciate what exactly does it mean. Then second question was that the matrix that I have provided is a little different from the in-house format of the Bangladesh Open University. That's what I have been told. And some of the colleagues have deviated from the metrics and they have presented, I understand, presented the BOU format. You see, I must make one clarification to all colleagues, now 72 present here. I must make one clarification. You see, our objectives are very clear. Our objective is not the matrix. What is the matrix? Metric is a pedagogy for me. Matrix is not the format exactly which you are going to follow. You have to follow the BOU format. Absolutely. There is no issue. There is no problem in that. But working on the matrix will provide you the pedagogy behind which we are working. What exactly is that? Let me spell out so that it becomes very clear. IGNOU has its own in-house style. British Open University has its own in-house style. Bangladesh Open University has its alumni OUSL. They have their respective styles. We are not discussing that. What we are simply discussing is one sentence I will spell out. That is the crux of our objective of this workshop. That when we are moving towards two things. One, outcome-based learning, and two, blended learning. This is our objective. Our objective is that we are proceeding more towards outcome-based learning so as to build in more activities and more hands-on and practical activities into our program, build in some kind of vocational and professional and 21st century skills into our program and courses of study, and build employability. I'm not talking about VET, vocational education and training, but build employability, because now UNESCO and many others are discussing in the name of 21st century that employability is not only a vocational and professional skill. Employability is much more than this. It is all about communication, leadership, critical skills, innovation, and so on and so forth, as you know. So all these we need to achieve through our degree, certificate, diploma programs. So that I should make very clear. So therefore, the matrix is concerned with outcome-based learning and blended learning. How? Because outcome-based learning will proceed with a framework, a pedagogic framework. We are not discussing in-house style, by the way. So I will distinguish between in-house style and the pedagogy of outcome-based learning and blended learning. That's what we are discussing in these 3 days and 4 days, and even after that, we will work out. What is that? That we are simply saying that we will develop a concept map based on which scientifically we would like to proceed. Point number one. From concept map, we will proceed towards deriving the learning outcomes and specify the learning outcomes for the program, for the courses, and for the lessons that we are developing. Point number two. After these two have been specified, we will proceed towards identifying resources, developing ourselves or open education resources. The sky is the limit today. It is not only what we are writing, but many resources are available elsewhere. If we can bring those in based on these learning outcomes, point number three. And point number four, and most important, because our teaching learning, which is largely print-based, is becoming more theoretical. Today, the expectation is, I said you the formula 50-50, that 50% theory and 50% application, which is not happening. I have seen your materials, I have seen IGNOU materials, I have seen British Open University, Athabasca University. In US, it is very different. US, it is a different kind of blending, actually. So their resources are very different than our resources. So I have seen Australian materials. I was in Fiji and working in Australia, so Australian materials. And I have seen the South African was very rich and UNISA materials, and so on and so forth. So my submission is that our materials are largely theoretical. So therefore, can we build in more activities? Activities is not self-assessment questions which are built into the self-learning material sprint. I must distinguish between the self-assessment questions, self-check questions, self-test questions, and activities. We will discuss activities tomorrow because it is scheduled for tomorrow. Tomorrow is activities, plagiarism, copyright, OER, and media integration. That's tomorrow. We will discuss when it comes up tomorrow. So therefore, the activities are actually 50% of our credit hours. That's what I'm trying to impress upon. So when you are developing afresh your materials or you are going to revise your existing materials, certainly you have to keep in mind, and my submission and request to you is, मेरी गुजारिश है आपसे, that if while revising we can chunk out whole lot of theory dominated materials and bring in lot more activities to apply and to learn more and apply in context, not theoretically, not in abstract. That's what constructivism and instructivism. Yesterday there was a question that where to use instructivism, where behaviorism, where to use constructivism. My submission and clarification at this point of time would be, because it is appropriate, that this instructivist, behaviorist, which is more abstract and theoretical, which are more conceptual. So when we are discussing concept, definition, characteristics, why not to bring in instructivism? As much as lecturing in the classroom, nobody is going to reject. Even if we have web-based learning online, lecturing will continue. Lecture has its own value. So therefore, as lecture in the classroom, so also our direct instruction through conceptual clarity is instructivism, which is more theoretical. When we are getting into practice in context, not only practice, practice in context, practice in workplace, in marketplace, in this and that, and wherever there is a functionality, society, culture, practice in society. So practice in society, we will certainly bring in constructivism into that. So that therefore, our activities need to be more constructivist. That's what I would submit, to distinguish between instructivist and constructivist. I hope I'm communicating. And when we are bringing in more activities, the activities will be two ways. Activities will be more individualized. Therefore, the individualization of formulation of responses by our students who would become graduates will be constructivist. And they can also do group projects. So when we discuss activities tomorrow, we will take up this issue. I will stop here insofar as this point is concerned. Then the fifth point in that direction, so far metrics is concerned. Therefore, the kind of resources that we will decide, they will conform to our learning outcomes based on theory as well as practice. Practice means activities, not self-check questions. Self-check questions are part of this self-learning material, print and otherwise. So they are already there. They are part of the instructivist process. But when we are going to do activities, we have to bring in more individualized and if possible group-based, because in distance learning, group-based becomes very difficult. It is largely individualized. And constructivism believes in individual formulation of meaning, because even twins are not the same. So therefore, instructivist, constructivist formulation we are taking in these metrics. And my summation, last two columns of your matrix is this, that now the question comes up, which media? My submission is to all of you very carefully that we have kept media other than print as supplementary. Supplementary means that something in addition to. Now there are two more steps to this media integration. Media integration is not a very big job. It's not a tricky issue. It's our decision, our pedagogic decision how to go about it. My submission is, if possible, to make media a little more complementary. Complementary in the sense that some of the course units, some of the course lessons can be provided through different kind of media which the students have access to. We cannot impose on them, which the students have access to. And side by side, if you can integrate at the third step, integration is our traditional distance learning and web-based learning integrated together, we will call it, and hands-on, face-to-face, hands-on for practicum, laboratory, and computing, and so on and so forth. All three put together, that's what I said, blended learning. If we are moving towards blended learning, we have to consider integration. Now, integration is much more than supplementary as well as complementary, because integration will be fully integrated. If it is an online course, if it is a web-based learning, integration becomes easier. If it is an offline distance education, integration becomes a little more tricky. We will discuss this part tomorrow. So I think with this clarification, this matrix is all about pedagogy of outcome-based learning and blended learning seriously. It has nothing to do with the self-learning material, self-check questions, our in-house style, nothing to do with that. You go ahead with your in-house style. But what I'm discussing is that we are discussing the pedagogy of outcome-based learning as well as pedagogy of blended learning. Once we appreciate these, and therefore once you have worked out your metrics, it will be easy for you to transfer for this metrics to your in-house style and to your institutional policy, because institutional policy is also there, because we are abided by the institutional policy. So therefore we can transfer this pedagogy into our policy and into our organizational and administrative format, which I would call as an in-house style. In-house style is not as much about pedagogy as about our organization, delivery, management, administration, for instance. So therefore, with this clarification, let me also proceed to say that OER evaluation criteria I have already provided to you. Let me read out: clarity, comprehensibility, readability, content accuracy and technical accuracy, adaptability and modularity, appropriateness, accessibility insofar as disability is concerned, and supplementary resources like homework, study guide, tutorials, assignments. They're also part of the open education resources. It's not only print and audio and video, a whole lot of activities. Again, I'm saying, repeating, activities are built also into open education resources. So friends, with these clarifications, therefore, I would request all of you to kindly address this matrix, because the matrix is your pedagogy. Pedagogy of outcome-based learning and pedagogy of blended learning. Concept mapping that we are going to discuss today within 5 minutes. Concept mapping, learning outcomes. Based on that, your resources, print, audio, video, graphics, animation, web-based support, and YouTube, social network, and so on and so forth. Based on that, theory plus practice. Practice is application. Application through activities. Then your media integration, all will be addressing your learning outcomes. That is the whole issue. Therefore, if we do this way, you will find a lot more transformation of your self-learning materials and other kinds of activities that you are undertaking for distance learning. Because we are gradually moving towards, because you are much more ahead than us, because you have an OER policy, we do not have. And all your resources are now OER. You are internationally now recognized. Insofar as OER concerned, we are much behind, actually, I must tell you. But then insofar as pedagogy is concerned, we face a lot of challenges here, and a whole lot of our medicine, surgery, cardiology programs that we offer at distance. Can you believe? Cardiology and surgery, our doctors, professors, we are teaching at a distance. It's a different model. So therefore, I'm not bringing in, I'm involved heavily in these models, but then I'm not bringing in those here. What I'm simply saying is that either when we develop a fresh or we revise our materials and resources and operations, interaction, study center, and so on, and assessment strategies, this matrix will be very useful to you, because this matrix is outcome-based learning, pedagogy of outcome-based learning, and pedagogy of blended learning. So friends, let me proceed wherever I left yesterday. Multiple participants can share simultaneously one particular sharing. So I'm sharing the screen. It's not coming up. Advanced sharing options. One participant can share at a time. One participant can share at a time. Yes. So why it is not sharing? Oh, yes. So friends, I left this yesterday. I was talking about, and I'll finish this and proceed to today's proceedings within 5 minutes. I was talking about that in a blended context, this is for all of you, that I will submit, like in IGNOU also, we are largely moving towards that. We are following a traditional distance education as you are following. That's fine. But what we have ensured is that there is always a web support. Web support means there is always a built-in web support for each certificate, diploma, and degree programs. What is that web support? That web support comprises of discussion forums for interaction, for deliberation, for dialogue, for discussion, question answer. It is also meant for ensuring doing activities, which we will discuss tomorrow within quote activities. And number three, it also provides additional resources. Additional resources, not necessarily we provide. Additional resources we can identify as open education resources, and we can provide links to them. So with this, I will proceed by simply saying, and therefore my two PowerPoints on XMOOCs and CMOOCs will make sense to you. And therefore these two PowerPoints are there today. These XMOOCs, as I was telling, that the XMOOCs are based on largely the behavioristic philosophy, behavioristic pedagogy. Whatever I have written here, they are part of the XMOOCs. Your edX, your Coursera, your Khan Academy, your many such, including in India, our national platform SWAYAM, they are guided by XMOOCs. But as I said to you yesterday, that Professor George Seaman and Professor Stephen Downes, who initiated the MOOC system and connectivism system, and the first MOOC developed by them in the world, the first MOOC, that was CMOOC, that is connectivist MOOC that you see on your screen. I have already discussed connectivism with you yesterday, and therefore, in this PowerPoint, what you see is that in connectivism MOOC, it is more about interaction, communication, collaboration, more personalized learning, more of group learning, more of community of practice, more of open educational practices, more of open pedagogy, more of integration of social media, and so on and so forth. And therefore, they would reach a stage, what is called metacognitive knowledge and a reflective. I have discussed with you that blog and wiki. I'm recalling that blog and wiki are two powerful tools. Whatever you say, there are 1,000 tools available today internationally. But friends, I'm submitting based on my experience that blog as a personal reflective tool and wiki as a collaborative reflective tool based on the activities. These tools have to be used for activities. These tools will not be used for content transmission in any case, and they will be more reflective. So therefore, the kind of assessment rubric that you have as your last column in the matrix, you can reflect what exactly you are doing. Computer marked assignment, tutor marked assignment, offline and online. All these are possible offline distance education as well as online. Discussion forum, which is basically online. Interaction in the community of practice, which can be at the study center, which can also be on the website. Face-to-face workshops, audio, video, and kinds of things. Online presentations, online individual projects, and most important is e-portfolio or portfolio. Friends, what is coming up today internationally, that in management and law, they say you cannot teach management and law without case study. So management is taught by cases. Law is basically cases. But can we not bring in cases to teach all kinds of subjects that we are discussing? So case study becomes an important instrumentality to put theory into practice. Therefore, I will go a step further for all of you to request that in all your courses, in each of your courses, if you can build in what is called a portfolio. Portfolio is becoming very prominent today as an instrument. It's not that difficult. It is an instrument to put theory into practice and to do self-reflection. Putting theory into practice and to doing self-reflection will enhance the quality of learning and therefore learning outcome. I have already sent this PowerPoint to you. It is difficult to read all these, but this is a consolidated version of the assessment methods that is available today to us through distance learning, through online learning, as well as blended learning. So friends, these if you can consider and see to what extent your course, you are using what kind of assessment strategy. I will only say this word insofar as this PowerPoint is concerned. You need to examine that. All explanations are given here. So therefore, the strategies to consider for all of us is that how can we finalize our direct instruction? Direct instruction means your instructivist to put forward your content to your students. Printed materials, audio, video, virtual class, presentation, interaction, open education resources. How to have learner, student interaction. This is extremely essential, and this is not happening. We used to call in traditional distance education as self-help groups. Now this learner interaction, when we built in, I've written here a Google group, which is a very informal thing. Moodle is a big platform, which you also have, but I'm simply talking about a Google group. So if you create a Google group for your students, and if you students, if they have access to internet or mobile, they can interact, and that will be a formalized interaction mentored by you. This will be a guided interaction. It will be very interesting, friends. The quality of learning will certainly increase. Authentic tasks. In the Moodle project, Moodle also it is possible online, and offline distance education it is also equally possible. Friends, I will repeat by simply saying that our assignments, our activities, and our examination is not becoming authentic. What do we mean by authentic? Authentic is not a direct translation of the concept and the content that you have provided through self-learning materials. It is much more than that. It is the application of the concepts that the students have learned into the actual authentic social context. I hope I am communicating. And I'm also communicating that this is not happening. And the quality of learning will largely depend on this. Otherwise, it will simply become an intellectual reproduction. The students are only reproducing, and this is an intellectually intelligent reproduction. The students are very good at it. And today, engineers, doctors, everybody is doing an intelligent reproduction. They are not becoming creative, change managers for the future. They're not becoming leaders in that area. Creative people who can create and lead. That's what is needed. So therefore, authentic becomes very important. Otherwise, it would remain as abstract. So all our teacher made tests, assignments, and other things that we are giving, they are not becoming authentic. They are simply reproducing at the high conceptual level. Learning nuances. The open source technology. Sorry. I was discussing with you reflecting on practice. This is a serious management strategy. My colleagues in management, they would appreciate that. I was talking about Professor Donaldson. You get a copy of his book, The Reflective Practitioner. This is how the multinational companies today, the management science is enriched because of the simple application of practicing or reflecting on their practices. This is a serious pedagogic issue. This is a very scientific process. It is not a haphazard thing. And therefore, I will repeat that can we build in, or are you building in reflection on practice? First practice, and then judiciously, consciously building reflection into that practice as part of your activity. Self-regulation, I discussed yesterday. And I'm simply submitting that if you develop a portfolio for students or e-portfolio, it will bring in automatically self-reflective strategies into students. And therefore, the quality of learning will enhance. Therefore, friends, I'm proposing to you to go for a blended learning, learner-centered, collaborative, metacognitive, a lot of flexibility, and a lot of multimodality is there. Multiple pathways will be there. Therefore, in your curriculum design, I have a very fundamental question to ask to you. You are all masters of your own discipline, pedagogy, discipline, content. We are discussing pedagogy here and requesting that we must get into pedagogy more and more because we are teachers and discipline pedagogy. That's what I'm saying. Discipline pedagogy, which is most important. Now, friends, you tell me whether your curriculum is subject centered or your curriculum is learner centered. Curriculum means your program, your course, your lesson, your activities, your assignments, or it is problem centered. What I'm simply submitting to you is that from time to time, as we have been combining instructivism as well as constructivism, my submission would be that we can combine both subject, learner, and problem centered in different ways into our curriculum. This is also another point in the matrix that you need to seriously look into. Therefore, your curriculum design, your program, your courses, and finally your lessons. So they will proceed with the broad goals, learning outcomes, that is the competencies, target audience, and so on and so forth, the credit hours. Then the courses, they will also have their learning outcomes, their credits, theory, practical projects, and many more that you can think of. And your lessons, which will have a lesson learning outcome, broad content, activities. This is very important. Activities to be carried out in your lessons, in your courses, which is very important. And if you can provide with open resources, with hyperlinks, and so on and so forth. Therefore, your course components, you can look at this PowerPoint and see to what extent you are able to integrate. Not only these are present, but I discussed with you supplementary, complementary, and integrated. My stress is that print assignments, activities, program guide, workbooks, audio, video, audio vision, radio, television, teleconferencing, interactive counseling, web support, hands-on practical study center counseling. You can think of still more. To what extent you are integrating in an outcome-based learning, which outcome is related to what? Which outcome is related to print? Which outcome is related to assignments? Which outcome is related to activities? This is what I expect from the matrix. This is all about pedagogy. This is not in-house style. So my submission to all of you, that each one of you needs to submit that matrix to tell us that you have really understood, appreciated, and applied this pedagogy to your course and to your lessons and units. That's what I'm simply trying to say. I hope I'm communicating. It's not about in-house style. Therefore, friends, I sent you a revised my matrix with more explanations on this. I provided you with more explanations so that you appreciate what the matrix is all about. Let me also clarify here. So when you have your program, course, credits, or whatever, your learning outcomes and credit hours, they will be deciding your content, learning resources. You have to address learning resources to specific learning outcomes. That is very essential. If we cannot do that, nobody will believe us that we are good teachers and we are teaching. If we are teaching, we must be in a position to say that if this is the learning outcome, what kind of resources that I'm providing for that? What kind of assignments I'm giving? What kind of activities I'm providing to apply that theory into practice? And therefore, what will be my assessment strategy, assessment method, or assessment rubric to address that learning outcome? So therefore, everything is geared based on learning outcome. This is what is outcome-based learning. It is up to you to buy this idea. You can simply say that we don't believe in outcome-based learning. We will do what we are doing. That's fine. That's your choice. But this workshop is all about outcome-based learning, and the whole world is moving towards that. Outcome-based learning is not materialistic. Outcome-based learning is not readable. That's what many intellectuals argue. A competency-based education is not paid. A competency-based education is also equally humanitarian, as much as humanitarianists would argue the case for alternative ways of providing education. This is also combination of employability, as well as happiness skills that we are talking about, which they would call it 21st century skills. So friends, my submission at this stage, again, a request that this is all about pedagogy. If you categorically tell us that if this is your course, this is your module, this is your lesson, this is specific learning outcome, this is what the credit hour for that course or module is, or lesson, you call it lesson, I'm always forgetting, you call it lesson, and what kind of activities you are giving for that lesson or for that module or for that course, and what is the credit hour for those activities, because activities assignments, they also take time, students time, so you have to assign credit hours for all of these. What kind of learning resources, again credit hours. What kind of assessment, again credit hours. So therefore this matrix is visible as if something you are jotting down mechanically. No, you are jotting down, your decision will be based on our deliberations for 4 days on the pedagogy of outcome-based learning and pedagogy of blended learning. So therefore, this is in front of you, friends. You can have a look. Would you like to have active student learning? If you need to have active students learning, you have to provide activities. You have to engage them in activities. Would you like to make it more interactive? If you like to make it more interactive, then you have to bring in media to make it interactive. Because if they cannot come to the study center, you can have your email interaction, you can have your WhatsApp interaction, you can have your SMS interaction, you can have your web-based interaction. By web-based, I do not necessarily mean that a full-fledged Moodle LMS, learning management system. I gave an example of Google Groups, and there are many such facilities available to us that we can make it interactive. Mediated and blended, I have discussed about blending. I will repeat: face-to-face, self-study for self-learning, face-to-face as much as possible for translating the theory into practice, and online for collaborative engagement. That's what I would simply say. If all the three, in simple terms, if you can join together as an integrated course design and curriculum design, based on whatever subject you are teaching, I think we will be very progressive in the right track insofar as reform in pedagogy and teaching learning is concerned. And I hope that you will take that lead. Engagement in context, not theoretically, in context, then and there, jameen par utar ke, they will get down to this earth and then try to apply that. And application will become instructivist if you give one activity to everybody. It will become, the same application will become constructivist if you simply say that here is an application for you to do, and you look at your own situation, your family, your context, your workplace, your community, your society, and try to formulate a response based on your understanding. Then it becomes constructivist. I hope I'm communicating, friends. It's very simple. Let's not make it very complex. It's very, very simple. And therefore, finally, for me, as I said at the beginning of this workshop, what is learning? What I said, I will repeat again. Learning is student experience in practice. I repeat, learning is a student's experiencing in practice. Just this statement is the pedagogy of your matrix. So friends, with this, let me proceed to my next presentation. Good self-learning materials. So 2 PowerPoints of yesterday are left out. You can read, this PowerPoint is available to you already, that these are the characteristics of good self-learning materials. You see that these indicators, whether they're available in your self-learning materials, print, audio, video, teleconferencing, web-based support, open educational resources, it is applicable to everything. And second, that what could be a good self-learning material, that it must have learning outcomes. It must be meaningfully so far language is concerned and very simple. It should bring in practice and activities into that. It should be flexible with multi perspectives. I hope you are writing down when I'm talking. Just don't simply listen to me. Please do write down. I'm looking at you. I can see some of you on the screen. You are not writing down. You will forget all of these. I hear, I forget, or I see, I forget. I do, therefore I learn. There is this old Chinese saying, I repeat, I had already told you. So therefore, I hope you are doing that. So a lot of instructions and advice within that. I repeat, lot of advice, lot of tips, lot of hints, lot of boxes, lot of cases, lot of suggestions that will be built into self-learning materials because they are not simply text. Some mechanism to provide feedback, some advice about record keeping, their study skills, what they should do, what they should not do, how to keep a record, some additional referencing materials, and some kind of motivation. This is what is called self-directed learning, that how to provide motivation to the students within that, to suggest some additional tasks, to suggest some additional resources, to share some of the cases, to share some life experiences, to ask them that can they also share some of their life experiences. These are all strategies to enhance motivation. So friends, with this, I completed my yesterday's presentation. Let me proceed to working out practically the metrics, the beginning of your curriculum and course design and lesson design. That is your concept mapping, and all your presentations, discourses, teaching is based on outcomes, evidences called learning outcomes or outcome-based learning. Let me proceed. Concept mapping. That when you decide about a curriculum, how do you decide about the curriculum, by the way, friends? Because we cannot talk to each other. I'm just posing these questions to you for your understanding and reflection further. How do you decide about your curriculum? Because they're available in the textbooks, because many universities are doing that way, and therefore you do. For your kind information, I must submit to you that at IGNOU, for instance, all of my 500 colleagues, 500 plus colleagues at IGNOU, each one of them has the liberty and the freedom guaranteed that they can deviate from the existing curriculum of all universities in India put together. They can do it very differently. Having said that, let me also submit to you how they will do it. They will bring a few experts to discuss, but how they will do it? They will do it based on what is called concept mapping. I hope I'm communicating, friends. So once you develop we will discuss what is concept mapping. So based on these, they could do a program very differently, organize and order that program, structure that program very differently than what is available in many universities and the textbooks for that discipline concerned. Just look at these PowerPoints, friends, to get some idea that how we would like to proceed. If we have to proceed towards an outcome-based learning, and we would like to proceed towards more quality student learning experiences, irrespective of our discipline. It may be a language, it may be management, it may be education, it may be teacher training, it may be commerce, it may be accountancy, it may be physics, chemistry, it may be geology, it could be vocational education and training, it could be, in our case, cardiology or surgery. Anything, everything is, or engineering and technology and so on and so forth. Anything is possible, no problem. The same formulation is by all, everybody has to follow. What is that? That are we bringing in and defining what is the existing learning experiences, prior experiences of our graduates, would-be graduates? Yes, good. What are their graduate attributes that this program would like to define? Graduate attribute is a declaration in the public domain that after completion of this program, you will look like this. And therefore, you may be competent enough to get this job or that job, this profession, that profession, further study, do a PhD, further research or whatever. Do we do this? This is what is called a citizen charter. In Delhi, just to give an example, in Delhi, when the new party took over as the state government, the chief minister declared that it was our promise that we will provide citizen charter. What is that citizen charter? That all kinds of public services that you will receive, we will tell you in public domain openly that from where you will get that support, life support, social support. They call it social security in Canada and US. So that's the social security support, from where you will get and how you will get and within how much time you will get and with what consequence you will get. This is an open declaration. So therefore, I'm communicating, friends. I hope I'm communicating. So therefore, graduate attributes. Then your actual courses, credits, modules, based on concept mapping and multiple media. For me, if it is integrated, it will be good, or complementary or supplementary, as you decide. Then the question comes, the learning outcomes. That's what we are discussing, concept mapping and learning outcomes we are discussing today. Therefore, different strategies to put those into practice and therefore help them to develop their metacognitive abilities and self-regulated learning abilities. This is the ultimate objective of our quality learning, that the students can handle themselves in practical situations. They are getting your degree, that's fine, but are they able to apply whatever they've learned in their socio-cultural context, family, job contexts? That's the issue. Also, we are talking about authentic assessment. I will repeat, authentic assessment, authentic tasks insofar as practice is concerned, not hypothetical. There are case studies which can be hypothetical, but that's fine. But there should be case studies which are also real. But the tasks have to be real, because after getting the degree, they will get into the real world in the society and community. And if your activities, your practical experience is not related to society and community, then they will certainly not be able to function properly in the society. They will not be able to contribute. They will simply get a job, earn money, and then retire and forget the world. That's what is happening. And I have jotted down here, it has to be comprehensive and it has to be continuous. Therefore, whole lot of formative assessment need to be given. In IGNOU, we had a formula, 30% formative, 70% examination. Okay. Just 1 month back, after 30 years, we got the new National Education Policy 2020. The national policy says enough is enough. You reduce your theoretical and content load, just provide the core, 50%, and 50% provide the practice, that apply the content into practice. This is a paradigm transformation, and a policy document which is passed in the Indian Parliament is a legal document, by the way. So all the regulators in the country have to be abided by that. I hope I'm communicating. All the regulators, including the University Grants Commission or whatever Higher Education Commission, they have all to be abided by that. This is what the present government has declared legally. So therefore, they say 50-50. 50 theory, 50 practice. Therefore, 50 formative assessment and 50 summative. And they'll be very happy if formative will become 70 and summative final examination will be 30 or 75-25. Finally, friends, authentic tasks, engaging students in the world of work, case studies, workshops, projects, portfolios, internships, and so on and so forth. The field studies, these are very essential. This is not happening in distance education, but this is certainly happening in face-to-face education. You look at how Dhaka University is doing. If Dhaka University is doing that, we are supposed to do that. But they are doing it in face-to-face. it is easy for them to do, and we have to teach at a distance, it is very difficult for us to do. That's what precisely we are discussing in these 4-day workshops. So friends, given this formulation, let me proceed to the first step called concept mapping. Concept map is nothing but the relationships among concepts. When you say I'm providing a certificate, diploma, or a degree, undergraduate or a master's program, what you are simply giving is a combination of few concepts. Traditionally, these concepts are expressed as chapters in the textbooks. If you say chapter 1 to chapter 10, they are available in the textbook, can I reverse that chapterization? Can I reverse the sequencing of the concepts? Yes, you can do. And I told you at IGNOU, each of my faculty has 100% freedom to do that. And in fact, we do that. Therefore, it is not surprising that in India, the IGNOU study materials are selling like hotcake, including those who sit for the civil service examination, they also buy. And at IGNOU, I have no hesitation to say, we earn a lot of money by selling our materials because they are very enriched materials you cannot find elsewhere. So therefore, these materials are based on what is called concept mapping. Secondly, meaningful learning. That learning will become meaningful when they are conceptually clear, when they are linked to the private knowledge, and when there is a choice of multiple pathways, alternative resources available to achieve the same learning outcome. Is it all right, friends? Let me proceed to the next. So, what is the taxonomy of a concept map? I'm just discussing theoretically. I will show you practically, and I will ask you to develop your own concept map. Is it all right, friends? Can someone respond to me by saying that it's going on well? I should proceed.
Yes, okay. Yes, okay.
Okay. Okay. So the concept map, everything has a taxonomy, and therefore the concept map has also a taxonomy. What is that? We will discuss one kind of learning outcome based on Bloom's taxonomy, but also concept map will be discussing the mapping of keywords and concepts and their relationships. Your certificate, diploma, or the degree program, I repeat, friends, they are combination of concepts. Traditionally, the concepts are translated into textbooks called chapters, chapter 1, chapter 2. And for you, they are lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, and so on and so forth. So how do you order and organize these lessons, these courses? On the basis of what? On the basis of what Dhaka University does, or on the basis of the textbook that is available in the market? Certainly not. At IGNOU, we do not do that. We do not follow any university. We look at their courses, but we do not follow them. And we do not follow any textbooks. But maybe in science, like chemistry, physics, there is a whole lot of things which is structured. Whole lot of concepts is structured. You have to follow mathematics. You have to follow structures. But for your kind appreciation of what I'm saying, in this country at least, insofar as mathematics is concerned, we have now discovered our arithmetic, geometry, and mathematics is given by Europeans, by the British, which we do not believe, because they took away from the greater India, when Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, all were together up to Afghanistan, all part of the greater India. So when this ancient India was there, what is called Ganit, I think you can appreciate Hindi word. This is a Sanskrit word called Ganit. This Ganit, which originated from our soil, got to the Middle East, from the Middle East got into Europe, and from Europe got translated, because English people are very intelligent people. They got translated into what is called mathematics and arithmetic and geometry today. Therefore, we have realized that we can go back to our original Ganit, not through the methodology of the English. So therefore, if I can touch my nose like this, why should I do like this? I hope I am communicating insofar as Ganit is concerned. Those mathematicians, they can argue the case, but I'm arguing the case as a pedagogue. I'm not a mathematician, by the way. So therefore, in this country, I'm just giving one example of mathematics. So therefore, we in this country have defied the mathematics textbooks available in this country for school, college, and university. We at IGNO, we could do it very differently. I hope I'm communicating, friends. I should not take more time on this point. What I'm simply saying is that if these concepts are available to you, how you organize that concept, what is their relationship, which is first concept, second concept, third concept, first lesson, second lesson, third lesson. You have all the freedom to redo that if you can logically establish that there is a different way of doing things. There are hundreds ways of doing, organizing your course. You can do it one way. Your colleague will say, I will do it differently. A third colleague will say, I will do still differently. Who is right? Everybody is right. Clear, friends? So therefore, a concept map will provide you the best possible combination of concepts and their organization and relationship, ordering or structuring. So organizing information, comprehensive from complex communication, refining meaning, information processing. They will also facilitate you in your assessment and evaluation, and collaborative, cooperative learning will be possible. But these will be translated what is called learning outcomes. Let me proceed to the next. I will provide you in one PowerPoint the different websites that are available, that different software today are available to develop your concept map. Is it all right? So therefore, I will provide you that. But then there is a graphic organizer. There is another way called mind mapping, waving, outlining, plotting and graphing. There are different ways of doing concept mapping. Let me show you the first concept map that was developed in the world. This is the first, I repeat, this is the first concept map that was developed in the world. This concept map was given by, because the originator of concept map is Professor Novak, Novak. So the originator of the concept map, Professor Novak, to tell us what is a concept map, he developed a concept map on concept map. Am I communicating, friends? Yes or no? You can do like this so that I can at least get you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Repeat it, sir.
I'm Mohammed Majanur. So if you do like this, then I can see you, so I can understand that. Yes, this is a concept map. That means the concepts and the relationships. Concept map means the concept involved in that certificate program, diploma program, or degree program, or master's program. The different concepts, their relationships. They are relationships which are indicated through different verbs. This leads to that, that influences that. Am I communicating? This is due to this. This is further divided into this. You know, the kinds of linkages in between the verbs are written. This is a concept. Let me proceed further. So this is a concept map on concept map. This is what is called a concept map. So this is a concept map on concept map. So to teach what is a concept map, Professor Novak developed the first concept map in the world. This is his concept map. This is Professor Novak's concept map. This is what is called a mind map, that they are used to this, they are governed by this, that in order to do this, you know, the kind. This is also another way of doing this. So friends, let me proceed to my second part, learning outcomes. And then I will show you, devote more time on showing examples of concept map and learning outcomes at the program level, course level and the lesson level. Is it all right? Should I proceed? So
Yes.
this PowerPoint is giving you, will help you. These are actual websites. You can click and go to the website. Inspiration software, action, seam, concept map software, decision explorer, activity map, all kinds of things. Mind mapper at the end. There are many. These are selected which will help you to develop your concept map. You need not draw the diagram. The diagrams are already given. You can only fill up and establish the linkages. Is it all right, friends? But if you ask me, myself, the example that I will show you in my next presentation, the examples that I will show you, I work on MS Word file. I draw my own diagrams, my boxes, my relationships. I do not take help of any of these software that is available today. Is it all right? But you can take the help of this software. Now, friends, let me go to the next part of the presentation, learning outcomes. What is a learning outcome, by the way? You see, the PowerPoint that you see on your screen, I'm not demotivating lecturers, those who are giving lecturing in the classroom, but this is what it is, my friends. That the average student retention time, for a lecture is less than 10%. When you go to reading, it becomes 10%. If you teach that through audiovisual, 20% retention. You actually do a demonstration, it becomes 30%. You engage them in their discussion, meaningful discussion, 50%. You give them a practice. Now, this is called activity. Am I communicating, friends? Activity within quote. My definition of activity is practice doing, which is 75%. And finally, you tell the students that you take the role of a practitioner or a teacher, you start teaching. They will understand and retain 90%. What does it mean? That you can now think about at what level you will pitch your learning outcome. Am I communicating? So therefore, if you are pitching your learning outcome to be 75%, you have to give them activities. That simply means your self-learning materials have to be activity-based. Am I communicating, friends? Yes or no? Because our self-learning materials are content-based, subject-based, theory-based, largely. Is it all right?
Yes.
But if you reverse that, if you say that no, my students will be able to understand at the 75% level, which is a higher order understanding and application. If it is so, then your self-learning lesson will be totally rewritten, which will be activity-based. If you ask me, I will search for and email you that how an activity-based lesson looks like. Is it all right? That the lesson starts with an activity and it proceeds through activities and the concepts are discussed through activities. By the way, কি হলো কি বাংলা বলি আমাকে বাংলা শোনাই দিচ্ছে
জি শোনা যাচ্ছে
তো কি খবর ঘর भी चलबे बाजार भी चलबे सेल्फ लर्निंग भी चलबे ओपन यूनिवर्सिटी चलबे सब कुछ साथ साथ चलबे हैं ঠিক আছে so friends I will provide you in fact the British Open University material that I emailed you yesterday, you can also look at that. Whole lot of, there are some 10-12 activities followed by discussion on each activity within the self-learning unit itself, lesson itself. So therefore you can look at that. Let me proceed to the next. Therefore what I'm simply saying is that if you pitch your learning outcome at a very higher level, then you have to bring in more activities, more practice doing, more discussion, more demonstration, more audiovisual, and so on and so forth. Now, Professor Benjamin Bloom developed what is called a taxonomy or a matrix, which tells us the learning outcomes. That simple knowledge and recall, little more ahead, understanding, still higher is application in context, still higher that a case study is given to you, you analyze the case study yourself, still higher. They will simply say, here are 3 case studies. Can you find similarities and differences? You are synthesizing, very high. Finally, they will say, here is a live situation. You evaluate that. This is the highest form of learning. And therefore, the outcomes at different level, they can be expressed in terms of verbs. The distinction between a learning objective or an instructional objective and a learning outcome is this, that the learning objective will put up the teacher or the institution or the subject matter's expectations. That this student will be a good student, he will be able to understand this, and he will try to recall these kind of things, and he will be a very high intelligent student after doing this. He will develop the ability to become a doctor, and then whatever the institution wants to do, I will show you examples. What the institution wants to do, you call them as learning objectives or instructional objectives. But when you say that I am a student, after going through your degree program, what I am supposed to do, that will become a learning outcome. Is it all right? From the institution or subject point of view is an objective, and from a student point of view, that will become an outcome. To define that, to express that, to write that, Professor Benjamin Bloom developed a taxonomy. This is called Bloom's taxonomy. Professor Bloom said that all our teaching learning, when we express that in terms of outcome, this can be expressed at the 3 levels. One is cognitive level, second is affective level, third is psychomotor level. Cognitive, intellectual, affective, motivational, emotional, attitude. One is mind, one is heart. And third is psychomotor. Lot more hands-on activities, like a mechanic. Psychomotor. In psychomotor, cognitive is also there, affective is also there, but it is more psychomotor abilities. When we were at IGNOU developing our BSc nursing program, a decision for curriculum design was to be taken. The decision was whether to make it more cognitive, more effective, or more psychomotor. We decided that nursing as a discipline, nursing as a practice, it is more about emotion, attitude, motivation, interest, care, service. Therefore, we will dominate our BSc nursing program through what is called affective domain. Then we will bring in content into that, which is called cognitive domain. And finally, at the lowest level, we will bring in some hands-on experiences that the nurses, they will practice in the hospitals, along with the beds of the Marij, the patients. Is it all right? I hope I'm communicating, friends. This serious decision needs to be made. So therefore, this is the cognitive domain. In cognitive domain, the lowest form of learning is simply knowledge, to remember. Little higher learning is understanding. Still higher learning after understanding is to apply, to practice. Still higher that a practice and case study is given to you, you analyze that. This is still higher form of learning. They will say, here are 5 case studies. You find out similarities and differences, still higher. Am I communicating, friends? Yes or no?
Yes, yes.
Yes. So therefore, we are at the beginning of learning outcome. So therefore, this is cognitive domain. We will also discuss affective domain as well as psychomotor domain, all the three, because all the three will be useful in one way or the other for you. This course, that lesson, this lesson, all the three will be useful to you. Knowledge will be useful, comprehension, understanding will be useful. Sometimes you give practice, that is application. Sometimes you give a case study to analyze, that becomes analysis. I hope I'm communicating. So we are discussing self-learning materials, but we are trying to make it more outcome-based. This Bloom's taxonomy was given in 1950. It is still existing for 70 years now. But still, we are comprehensively not able to apply it to our context. Today, with a lot of research happening, we know how to apply this into an outcome-based learning, outcome-based teaching as well as learning. The earlier formulation was original, knowledge, simply remembering, comprehension, understanding, application, analysis, synthesize different case studies, and finally make a judgment, value judgment. But then Professor Bloom and his colleagues changed it to this second one, to your right hand side. Remembering, recalling, understanding, applying, analyzing, then evaluating, making judgment, and finally creating. Creating for them would simply mean that synthesis of all these, that we are able to create. So creativity is the highest form of learning, and simply remembering and recalling is the lowest form of learning. When we express our content, you are teaching physics, chemistry, Urdu, management, surgery, history, political science, commerce, whatever you are teaching, if you express that my students will be able to remember, you are at the lowest level. My students will be able to understand, you are still a little higher. My students will be able to apply, still higher. They'll be able to analyze a situation, still higher. Am I communicating, friends? How to write it down, we will discuss. Because once we write it down, that becomes our learning outcome. Learning outcome for the program, learning outcome for the course, learning outcome for the lessons. Is it all right? Let me proceed. This is the same thing with a little more explanation from remembering to creating. This is the cognitive domain that we are discussing. Therefore, let me go a step further by simply saying that if from knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and final evaluation with the old formula, what is the explanation of that, you will understand when you read. What is the example for each? Example is also given. How to write it down? For instance, if you are simply providing information, which is more instructivist, not constructivist, you will simply say that after going through my lesson, my students will be able to state the principles, reproduce that formula. You know what I mean. When you say, no, I want my students that they should understand, then you will write that my students, after going through this lesson, reading my lesson, will be able to explain, will be able to identify, will be able to classify, will be able to illustrate. Then you are at the understanding level. Clear, my friends? Then if you want them to apply, then you will say, okay, after reading, they would make some application. They will be able to compute, they will predict, they will demonstrate, they will choose, they will use. You have to use these words to write your learning outcomes. Traditionally, we used to call them as learning objectives or instructional objectives. Now we will call them as learning outcomes. We will discuss step by step. There are a lot more ahead. I'm at the beginning, friends. So therefore, if you say that yes, they will be able to analyze, then they will do this, they will do this, they will do that. Let me clarify one thing, friends. If you are simply providing information, defining, stating, reproducing, then your content that you are providing in your lesson, print, audio, video, or whatever you are providing, they will only provide information. Is it all right? If you say, no, my learning outcome is that my students will be able to explain, they will be able to illustrate further, they must identify, they must contrast, then your text that you are providing, those will be based on understanding. Your writing in print, your presentation in audio, your presentation in video, they will be comprehension or understanding based. If you say that we would like our students to apply, then your activities will come into picture, or some examples of application, some case studies of application, or you give activities to the students to apply within the same lesson, if your learning outcome is based on application. Friends, just one question. Am I communicating? Are you able to appreciate and understand what I'm saying? Yes. Excellent. Yes, excellent. So therefore, it is not a difficult thing that we can revise our lessons, we can revise our courses based on these outcome-based learning. Outcome-based simply learning would mean that what the students will be able to do after reading my lesson, my course, or after taking the degree. After taking the degree is my program outcome. After going through a course is my course outcome. And after going through a lesson is my lesson outcome, isn't it? So therefore, once we write them down, then go back to the matrix, my friends. Always go back to the matrix. Once I write down my learning outcomes, then I will organize and write and develop my print and audio content accordingly. I will design my activities accordingly. I will give my assignment accordingly. Am I communicating? So therefore, my learning outcomes will guide me. My learning outcomes will guide me to do everything, including student self-study. And how many hours of credit we will assign, everything will be decided by that. From where we derive these learning outcomes? These learning outcomes are coming from concept mapping that we have already discussed. Is it all right? My concept mapping, the way they will be organized, they will tell me what will be my final learning outcome will be. For this lesson, lesson 2, lesson 3, lesson 4, all put together, my course, all courses put together, my program. My program means my degree. That means after obtaining this degree, what the students will gain. That will be our program learning outcome. Simple. Is it all right? How to write that? We will proceed further. And I have provided you enough materials on this. I've already provided you materials on this. I will show you some samples here based on the materials that I have already provided you. Now, learning outcomes. At the knowledge level, you will say that if you're simply providing information, this is a rote memorization, recognition, or recall of the facts. So you will say, after studying my lesson, the students will be able to define, they will describe, they will identify, they will recall all the 5 principles or characteristics. Are you getting me? So if it is so, then you are at the knowledge level. Then you say that if you go to understanding, then you will say that after studying my lesson, the students will be able to explain further. They will be able to give examples. They will be able to rewrite. If it is application, then you will say they will apply, they will compute, they will demonstrate, they will solve problems. If it is analysis level, you will say they will analyze, they will compare, they will illustrate. If it is a synthesis level, you will say that they will criticize, they will justify. You know, sometimes we say critically analyze. Sometimes we give questions in the examination. Critically analyze. Critical analyze means we are at a very highest level of learning. And finally, when you say that you modify, you develop a plan yourself, you devise a strategy, you compose yourself a poem, then we are at the highest level of learning. Is it all right, friends? Next. This is the cognitive. Again, we are at the cognitive level. We will go to affective and psychomotor very soon. At the cognitive level, that if this is knowledge, knowledge can be of different types. So on the left-hand side, you have factual knowledge, conceptual knowledge. Fact means recall. Conceptual means understanding. Procedural means application. Metacognition means creativity. Am I communicating, friends?
Yes.
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 So what this PowerPoint is, that at the factual knowledge level also, there can be remembering, there can be understanding, there can be application, there can be analysis, there can be evaluation. At the conceptual understanding level also, there can be remembering, there can be understanding, there can be analysis, there can be evaluation. At the procedure application level also, there can be remembering, there can be understanding, there can be application, there can be. At the metacognitive highest level, there can also be remembering, there can be understanding, there can be application. So therefore, don't think that a factual knowledge is only remembering. At the metacognitive level, there can be recall and remembering also and understanding also. But that will be a very different kind of understanding than at the simple information level. For instance, at the simple knowledge level, understanding will be summarized, that the students will be able to summarize. Am I communicating? But the same understanding at the highest metacognitive level, that the students will be able to execute. If you appreciate this, then your content will be written accordingly. The content will not be what is given in the textbooks. Your activities will not be what is given in textbooks. You will redo the whole thing. It will be a new thing. It will be outcome-based learning. And if you integrate media, it will be blended outcome-based learning. That's what this workshop is all about, friends. Once you finalize your learning outcomes, your content will automatically come. Your activities will automatically come. Your assignments will be designed accordingly. Your media will be decided accordingly. Your assessment strategies will be decided accordingly. And for assessment, I have already emailed you. I repeat, I have already emailed you some 13, 14, or 15 types of assessment that you can decide to do. And each assessment can also be translated into an activity. You can also give an activity, and that activity has to be assessed. You have to provide some grading or some score. You cannot give an activity without scoring it. Let me go a step further. When it comes to affective domain is all about our emotion, motivation, interest. So, for instance, like nursing program, I said, the nursing care and service is primary and understanding is secondary. Am I communicating, friends? So therefore, our nursing program was based on the affective domain of learning outcome. cognitive domain learning outcome was lower and affective domain of learning outcome was dominating. So affective domain can be at the receiving level, organizing level, and final highest is characterizing level. You will say that this is the lowest level, the student passively pays attention. Next level, the student actively participates in the learning process. Next level, the student will attach a value to that. Next level, the student can put together different pieces of information, of process, of product, anything. And final level, the student will build abstract knowledge, decision making. But decision making not at cognitive level. Decision making is the affective level. Affective means your heart. Cognitive means your mind. Am I communicating? Cognitive means your mind. Affective means आपके दिल. दिल तो आप समझते हैं ना?
Yes.
Cognitive,
Yes, understanding.
दिमाग.
Yes.
Cognitive दिमाग और affective दिल. जहां
Yes.
दिमाग है वहां दिल नहीं है.
Yes.
जहां दिल है दिमाग नहीं है तो इंसान परेशान होता रहता है. जहां दिल और दिमाग साथ हो जाएंगे परेशानी खत्म. When mind and heart will join together, then we will achieve highest quality of learning.
Yes, yes.
Let me go to psychomotor domain. Psychomotor means hands-on, practical, laboratory, computer training, training for television mechanic, television these, from a lower level to the highest level. Lower level they will call a craft person, highest level they will call as an engineer. Am I communicating, friends? So in psychomotor domain, the lowest level is a craftsman, is a serviceman, craftsman, simple hands-on. You go to cycle mechanic, TV mechanic, radio mechanic, mobile mechanic. These days, professors after retirement are becoming mobile mechanics. They need, in Delhi also, some professors after retirement, they have become mobile mechanic, earning a lot of money. Everybody has mobile, 5, 10 some mobiles, everybody. Mobile mechanic is a good money earning. Their mobile shop, but which is a psychomotor domain, basically. So psychomotor will be dominated by hands-on motor. Motor means our hand, mind, and this hand will do so many things. Psychomotor, but also mind will be there, cognitive, side by side, heart will be there, affective. But cognitive and affective will be at a lower level, psychomotor will be at a higher level. So, if you are giving a course on TV mechanic, if we developed, I will show one example of community radio. In Commonwealth of Learning, and with the help of colleagues from Bangladesh, we developed, I was consultant, we developed what is called a certificate program in community radio. And Bangladesh, in entire South Asia, is highest application of community radio. Is it all right? This is data. The data says that Bangladesh has the highest amount of community radio in the country. Then a small country, then India, a big country, has still less number of community radio. So therefore, our community radio certificate that we developed for Commonwealth of Learning is more applicable to Bangladesh. And therefore, our Bangladesh colleagues, they worked with me, and so also Indian colleagues to develop the community radio. So also some of the Sri Lankan colleagues. We developed community radio certificate program. It's an excellent program. I will show you some examples, if at all I have, in this PowerPoint. So therefore, friends, that in the psychomotor domain, which is more about craftsman, starting from there up to engineer, a computer will be more psychomotor, also equally cognitive, and there is little affective. If it is a doctor program like our surgery program is heavily dominated by a combination of cognitive and psychomotor. You will simply say, if it is at the lowest perception level, then next set, then guided response, and finally organization level. You will simply say that after completing my lesson, the student will be able to choose or describe or detect kinds of things that you will be using. But we are at the beginning. Let us see some examples how to do it. So therefore, you will be in a better position. So therefore, friends, now let us get into practical part of it. Whatever learning outcomes you write down after you draw your concept map. Concept map, I will show you examples. Concept map for your program, concept map for your course, concept map for your lesson. And concept map for your lesson is nothing but your content space. 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. It's not simply 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. This is a concept map. I will give you an exercise that the same topic is organized and taught in 3 different ways. Which way you like and why? I will give a test at the end of this presentation. Is it all right? So let me proceed. When you write your learning outcomes, you have to keep in mind SMART, S-M-A-R-T, SMART. You have to keep in mind. That means your learning outcome has to be specific, that you provide detail about particular aspects of the expectation, that you provide details. Don't simply say that the student will be able to analyze. That's all. No, you have to make the sentence full. How? We will discuss in the next PowerPoint. It has to be very specific. It has to be meaningful. That means it has to be written in a language that is understood by all the students, and it will be meaningful to them. It has to be appropriate, that it will suit the learner's ability and experience. Therefore, we always talk about learners' previous experience is very important. Do we know that? We need to know that. Therefore, our outcome-based learning will become more meaningful. If we do not know the learner's needs, if we do not know the learner's previous experiences, our outcome-based learning will become mechanical. It will not be qualitatively rich. Your outcome-based learning should be realistic and it should be testable. You should be able to provide evidence that yes, finally, the students have been able to achieve those learning outcomes. Let me proceed to the next. Therefore, what is a learning outcome? A learning outcome is a statement of students learning. I hope you are writing down. A learning, I'm not reading, I'm just speaking. A learning outcome is nothing but a statement of what the students will learn at cognitive, psychomotor, or affective level, in which there are 3 aspects. What are those? There must be performance. It must spell out the performance. Under what conditions that performance will take place, and with what criteria it will take place. That simply means a statement whether the learner should be able to do, which may relate to an intellectual skill or practical skill or attitude or motivation, that the learner will be able to appreciate the concern. A nurse will be able to appreciate the concerns of a patient in the hospital bed. So you are writing down the ability to, you are talking about a performance, the level of the performance. Second, you are also specifying the condition in which that learning will take place. And finally, the level of performance that is considered acceptable. That what are the criteria that finally everybody will say, yes, the learners have been able to achieve that. That is only possible when you give what is called a criterion reference testing. Not a teacher-made test, but a criterion reference testing. Criterion reference testing is a simple jargon. The meaning is a criterion reference testing, your test, your question paper, essay, short answer, a case study, or whatever you give, that is based on the learning outcome. Is it all right, friends? In simple terms, I have expressed as much as possible. From the University of Leeds, when I was searching for, I liked this the most. These are some examples of learning outcomes which can help you to write your learning outcomes. This PowerPoint will be with you. I will immediately email after my presentation so that this will be helpful to you to write your learning outcomes at the program, at the course, and at the lesson level. Now, friends, let us get into some examples. These examples I have already emailed you. All right. These examples I have already emailed you. But let me revisit. When we were developing the Commonwealth of Learning Certificate in Community Development, this is the concept mapping from the Commonwealth of Learning. This is the final concept map. That this is a certificate in community development, basically meant for community workers who are lifelong learning workers at the community level. I do not know what is the terminology. I do not know what is the terminology you give in Bangladesh, but here in India, they call them as lifelong workers, or lifelong learning workers, or in Hindi, they will call as preraks, social workers. They will do all kinds of services at the village level, at the community level. Multitaskers. They will deal with the NGO, they will deal with the private, they will deal with the public, they will deal with the government, they will deal with the family, they will deal with the businessmen, they will deal with the touts, they will deal with the middleman who is exploiting the people, they will meet with everybody. They will meet the thieves also. That why you are stealing money from the houses. They will deal with police, they will deal with the thief equally. Police on the one hand and thief on the other hand. They will deal with everybody. This is what is called a social worker.
Professor Panda, just a second. We are left. Professor Panda, we are just left
in Bangladesh.
We are left with 15 minutes. So if you can, wind up, and then we can have a few question answers for 5.
Very quickly. I will take 5 minutes.
Okay,
I will take 5 minutes only.
Thank
and
you
then
so
10 to 15 minutes, any questions and discussion.
Yes.
So can you imagine how difficult it was to develop? They will deal with leadership, environment, social life, lifestyle of people, their customs and culture, the money, economy, leadership, management, everything they have to deal with. So therefore, how to draw a concept map? After 7 days of deliberations with experts, we developed this concept map. Certificate in community development. It has got human resource development, environmental education. This is social work, and this is civic sense. Broadly divided into, then each one is further divided. You will see also there is a black line linkage, there is a blue line linkage, there is a dotted line linkage. So finally, friends, this is a program concept map based on which the learning outcomes of the program were derived. So the program concept map will talk about the broad concepts and their relationships, based on which learning outcomes were derived, and activities were designed. I repeat, therefore, I am referring to your matrix. Learning outcomes were formulated, and to achieve the learning outcomes, activities were designed. Let me go to the next step. This is one course from there. You can see this is environmental education here. That environmental education is further concept map is developed into this. This example will be with you. You can refer to as much as you like. Therefore, what will be the program outcomes, learning outcomes? What are the program learning outcomes based on that concept map? This is given on your screen here. When I will send you this PowerPoint, you will be able to appreciate more. So on the one hand, there is a concept map. On the other hand, there is a learning outcome for the program. And they have been written based on Bloom's taxonomy. Let me go to course level within the certificate program. The course level statements have been written here. You can also compare that based on the concept map, because everything is derived from the concept map. Therefore, the course learning outcome for the course environmental education is in front of you. These are the course learning outcomes. So you have program concept map and program learning outcome. You have the course concept map on environmental education and the course learning outcomes in front of you. Also side by side, which I have sent you, I am giving you one lesson from environmental education or civic science. One lesson. I call it a unit. This lesson is managerial skills. The lesson structuring, this is the concept mapping of the lesson itself. The structuring simply means concept mapping of the lesson. If it is so, one lesson out of that course, environmental education, if it is so, what are the learning outcomes of the managerial skills? So friends, you were telling me yesterday, can we discuss examples of exactly one particular program learning outcome, the course within the program learning outcome, course learning outcome, and the unit or the lesson learning outcome is in front of you. So let me proceed to the next example. This is media policy and governance. This was a Ford Foundation project that we did with the Jamia Millia Islamia, that they developed the master's program. The previous one is a certificate program. This is a master's program in media governance, media policy and governance. This is a very new kind of program in this country, and in fact, a new kind of program in the globe itself. Very rarely it exists. So when this was developed, we developed what is called a workbook for this. The workbook, almost 250 pages, contains every aspect that we are discussing right now in detail. This is the master's program concept map, which has been discussed in 2 to 3 pages, explained what exactly does it mean. If it is so, they said our graduate attribute will be learning outcome, skill mapping, application in context, and self-study further. Based on that, they discussed what is the graduate attribute. Graduate attribute would simply mean the program learning outcome, that how my graduates will look like when they will complete the master's program. I'm just skipping because this will be with you. You can read it. And finally, what is the learning outcome of the master's program? This is the learning outcomes of the master's program. Each learning outcome leads to content, print, audio, video, etc. Each learning outcome leads to activities. Each learning outcome leads to assignments. Each learning outcome leads to authentic tasks and practices. And each learning outcome has got certain assignment or assessment strategy in the assessment rubric. This is precisely what I'm referring to your matrix. I repeat, my friends, Your metrics is nothing but your pedagogy of learning outcomes and pedagogy of blended learning. This has nothing to do with your in-house style. So, friends, with this, I complete my presentation. And if there are any questions that you would ask me or you would write to me, I'll be very glad to respond to you. And I also repeat that all these I have emailed you. All these I have emailed you as full examples that are with you. So after this, if you can open those and try to relate to what we discussed, then you will be in a better position. So therefore, with this, we have completed our 2 days program. The first day was self-learning material and module design, and today concept mapping and learning outcomes. Based on these, tomorrow we are not writing, you will be writing. I will discuss how to write, but you will be writing your lessons. And tomorrow we will discuss the writing style, plagiarism and copyright, the self-assessment questions and activities, and media integration, including OER. That is for tomorrow, third day. Thank you, friends.
Thank you, Professor Panda. Questions, your questions now, please. Any questions on the learning outcomes?
So,
How many of
madam, I
you?
can ask one question. Okay.
Sure.
So, yeah, I have one question to Sir, because when we talk about the learning outcomes, so all these mechanisms we follow, but for the program learning outcome, so should we consider the need of the society or need of the industries or need for the future industries upcoming? So we will start with the program learning outcome and we'll narrow down to lesson learning outcome. So from program learning outcome, post learning outcome. So should we consider the future skills what we need to make our learners future ready? Thank you very much, sir.
You see, this is a very fundamental question. And therefore, I think each one of you might be having this question in mind because this is a very fundamental question. This is a foundational question. I did not get time to discuss how actually you develop your concept map and design your curriculum. How we do at IGNOU, I will share with you. And whatever we do, largely it is also related to some of the international good practices that many others also do. While you were asking that question, I very quickly jotted down what exactly we do. So what we do when we decide the concept map and draw the curriculum structure, what we do, what are the considerations that we do? And all my colleagues, because Stride, including Professor Parar, we are trainers. We train almost all our faculty, not only 500 here in the main campus, but also about 200 plus institutions, dual mode and open universities in the country. That is our job. That's why we get our salary. So therefore, I'm not saying something new. I'm just telling you my salary only. So whatever I get as salary, we do every day, that I'm telling. What we do, sometimes our faculty do not listen to us. They will say, no, we will do this, we will do this. They will transform the whole world in one day. They forget that they are a simple human being. They can't transform the whole world in one day. So therefore, we have to be very pragmatic. And therefore, what I'm going to discuss very briefly within a minute I will discuss and complete, is very pragmatic. That when we discuss all these with experts, we first brief the experts, what is our expectation? Because the experts come from the formal system, then they will try to impose so many things. At the first instance, we make them not out or something in the cricket, whatever you say. Bangladesh is very strong in cricket. Right? So I don't understand cricket. But then we make them out, not out or whatever out we make them. That we tell within half an hour that whatever you have come in your mind, you keep with you. This is our expectation. You have to work as per our expectation. This is point number one. Point number two, we tell them, brief them, what is our blended approach, multimedia approach, distance learning, then we brief them. Point number two. Point number three, we come to straight to business. We tell them, sir, madam, number one, there is a discipline structure, that every discipline has its own structure. BA has its own content, MA has its own content, school has its own content on the same topic. Therefore, the discipline structure we respect, point number one. That the discipline structure that is available with all university elsewhere, we respect, point number one. Point number two, that we are also equally concerned with national developmental issues, basically economic development and social development issues, because that is our responsibility as an open university. Three, that we are also equally concerned with the international market. And our stand is vindicated today when the National Education Policy 2020 has come up with us. It simply says that nothing doing, now Indian higher education, school education will have equal movement in the international market. That simply means internationally there will be credit transfer and credit recognition. There will be a different committee or which will be a regulatory committee which will be working out this. That's what our national policy says. So therefore, international trade and labor market, because our graduates should also go to other countries to get a job, we also keep that in mind. Socio-cultural issues, that's what I have write down. I have also write down developmental issues, because after all, education is for development. I have also written down the life skill issues, that everybody has a lifestyle we want to live, and therefore whatever in my culture, in Bangladesh, in India, in Delhi, in Chennai, in Kolkata, whatever our lifestyle, that lifestyle must be also catered for by these. So I think some of these that I have expressed, they all contribute to formulation of the curriculum. Insofar as curriculum content is concerned. But so far as curriculum structuring is concerned, it is our concept mapping and learning outcomes which will take forward, and the activities and the assessment rubrics, etc., etc.
Okay, any other question? Then otherwise we can close today's. You can put your questions on the WhatsApp group and we will be answering all those questions. Or you can write down an email to Professor Panda. We can do that.
So, Dada Mustafa, if you can tell all your colleagues, now they must have appreciated ये metrics क्या चीज है. That metrics is a pedagogy. That metrics is not an in-house style or a format or our institutional style. That is a pedagogy. So if each one would like to and must, I must say, fill it up and expand, whether they are doing one lesson, they are doing for a course, or they are doing for the entire program. If I'm doing for the entire program, I need not do course and lesson. That should be enough, because it will be a whole lot of tasks, too much of tasks for program, course, each lesson. No, it will take 6 months to do actually. So if they can do one example either at the program or the course or at the lesson level, the way we have discussed, that everything must be related to everything. It must be a storyline. It cannot be isolated. If that box they can expand into a few pages, because that box will certainly be expanded. So not theoretically writing down one word, but that box itself, if that can be expanded, it will be really excellent. That will be the learning outcome of this workshop actually.
Yes, sir. Actually, what is the plan of the university after this workshop? So we'll sit together again because since we are talking about learning outcome, and other things. So this workshop must come up with some outputs. So that's why university is arranged this kind of workshop. And but it depends on the colleagues. So we will sit together. We'll plan how to go. But right now, I think after this session, they will be able to develop at least something in the study in the module matrix, module design matrix, so that tomorrow you can work on that. You can guide us. So I think by tomorrow you will get significant number of design metrics. And afterwards, we'll sit together, we'll develop an action plan within ourselves so that we can continue and we can come up with some lessons and units. And then we'll share with you so that we can have some feedback, because you are our guru for Bangladesh Open University. Always we actually respect you and place you in a very high position at Bangladesh Open University. So I think we will get that support.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Excellent. But let me use Hindi now. I mean, Bangla বুঝতে পারি ভালো করে বলতে পারে না. Let me use Hindi. We are not guru. The guru will come to Chela also to learn. The point is that Bangladesh Open University in many matters is much ahead than us. So we are very envious of Bangladesh Open University that you have done so many, like Open University of Sri Lanka, so many things you are doing. But these intervention, I think, whether you follow the matrix, follow the in-house style, that's your choice. Obviously, that is a administrative policy choice. But this will facilitate you to certainly enhance the quality of your teaching learning in terms of outcome-based learning and in terms of blended learning. These two, everybody in the world is going, so we are also proceeding towards that. That is the whole idea. That's the whole idea. Decision will be yours.
So thank you very much, sir. Just we need maybe your support in terms of some idea if we start somewhere. So later on, so when we'll plan, so maybe we'll discuss with you privately, so that if we face any problem, we can have some guidance. So thank you very much, sir. And for the colleagues, so tomorrow we'll start at 10:30 again. And I hope that we will try to, of course, we are trying, because all the participants are here today, from the beginning up to now, everybody is here. So I think we will have this matrix tomorrow, because the tomorrow's session will be totally based on this matrix, whatever we'll bring here. So it will be better to share the matrix on Word format with sir, so that sir can just go through and give his comments. So it is very important for us, because his valuable comments are really important. It will create a big change to our SLMs, to our teaching learning process. Thank you very much. Over to Madam.
Okay, so all of you learned today the learning outcomes and the matrix which Professor Panda has explained. So the question which you asked, and then we will just sum up. These days in India, even in school education as well as in higher education, institutions, organizations have to write down first program outcomes, then course outcomes, and then it comes to unit outcomes. So for example, many of you have done our course, our means STRIDE course, that is Master of Distance Education. So what is a program outcome of that course? That's very, very important. And for you all also, like if you are doing a certificate course in poultry or in fishery, so it has to be a program outcome. So program outcome can be, it will be after going through this program, the learners will be able to earn a livelihood. Let's say this will be a program outcome. Then again comes the course outcome. For example, in Master of Distance Education, we have course on economics in education, distance education. We have research methodology in distance education, media in distance education, and so on. So each course will have its outcome. That's what all organizations all over the world, they are going to emphasize, they are emphasizing. Many universities internationally, they did this long time back. We have just started, at least I can talk about India, we have just started it. Then again, within each course, you will have 5 to 6 units. So each unit will have an outcome. So what Professor Panda has given the matrix designed that way, and that will be a helpful. I don't know whether in Bangladesh Open University, I know I have seen the course material. Each one of you have written the unit outcomes. Whether the program outcomes are there, course outcomes are there or not, I am not aware, but you have to decide. As Professor Mustafa said, that you are going to change, everyone has to change that part. Lastly, outcome, basically, what is the meaning of learning outcome? We have been using learning objectives and learning outcomes. What outcome means, and that is very important. Outcome is just a proof of learning. Earlier it was teaching, teaching, teaching. Now the emphasis, the whole change is on learning. World over, not only in Bangladesh or in India, world over, they had gone earlier to the outcomes. We have now entered. So outcome is just a proof of learning. Professor Panda has explained very nicely how do you define, how you design those learning outcomes using Bloom's taxonomy. Each one of you must have learned about Bloom's taxonomy, at least colleagues from the education background, they know, but others can go read those Bloom taxonomy. The literature is available on the internet. Professor Panda has given you a lot of literature as attachments through email, and go through it, read that, and try to write the learning outcomes at a higher order, which he had already explained. With these words, thank you so much. Thank you to all colleagues. Uh, do the homework which Professor Panda has given, very important, and hence this workshop. And it's not going to end here, this workshop. We will be continuing, especially emphasizing on the way you write, define the learning outcomes and other aspects, parameters of the material. Thank you so much. And once again, I thank Professor Panda and all colleagues. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, madam.